as you said, the name is Osvaldo Nhaca, and I study human behavior. And this comprises of looking at the different fields that contribute to human consciousness. Which includes psychology, philosophy, finance, and sometimes I even dabble in science from time to time. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Man,
Okay.
human
So
behavior.
I know, right?
Human behavior. Oh
Right.
man.
I know you mostly work with the DeMartini method.
Yes.
So can you just, for anybody who does not know what the DeMartini method is, can you just go into that and explain to them?
Certainly. So the DeMartini method is a method which was designed by Dr. DeMartini, which is a process that helps people balance out their perceptions and their emotions and helps you make that psychological breakthrough. What's revolutionary about this method is that it's enhanced and it's designed to show you the hidden order that's in your life. So no matter what the perception is, we can always bring it back to a balancing point, no matter what the perception is, or in other words, no matter what the individual story is, we can always bring it back to the middle point, the grounding point, and balancing that out and seeing how that your story or the individual story is part of the bigger order.
Okay, so now we are going in your work with human behavior and the DeMartini method, right?
Yes.
How do you define stress, and what is the biggest misconception people have about it?
Okay, so how we define stress?
Yes.
We're gonna go back. There's a couple of episodes ago where we spoke about the fact that the world is in a continuous flux,
Yes.
meaning that the only thing that is constant is change. So stress is actually the inability to adapt to a changing environment. So that is what brings about stress. That's how I would define stress.
Adding on TC's question, I
Yes.
just want to find out, Tuguti, is there a difference between stress and being worried, or is just those are synonyms?
No, there is a difference. So let's look at three different types of stresses. One is we'll call it an acute stress. The
Yes.
other one we'll call it a chronic stress, and then we're going to call the third one eustress. So an acute stressful situation is, for example, this morning I was driving coming here
Yes.
and I could have been late. So in that state of being stressed, of not wanting to be late, I drove like a maniac. That's a stressful situation.
All right.
So now chronic stress is now if I take that behavior, or should I say the way I drove today, and I constantly drive that way. So chronic stress is constantly being in that state of when I get into a car, I must just get to where I want to go to as quickly as possible. So now I'm always constantly being under a stressful situation. Now you stress is the good stress. You stress now is your personal stress when you're saying, okay, these are what my life goals are. For example, let's say you've got a life goal of maybe making 1 million, 2 million, or whatever the case is, or maybe you want to be this
Chasing a career.
Yeah.
chasing a career. Then you
Yes.
say, okay, you know what? In order for me to get from point A to point B in where I want to go, these are the things that I would love to do, and these are the things that I choose to do. So you stress yourself over those goals, over those actions that you want to take. So you stress is something that comes from within, whereas chronic stress or that acute stressness has to do with what's outside of your control. So it's basically a biased perception of what's going on.
Okay. I mean, I've often heard that stress is feedback from your body. So, stress is feedback. What exactly is it reflecting back to us?
It's reflecting back to you the things that you either didn't adapt to,
Okay.
or the things that you're overthinking about from a biased perception. So when it comes to the brain, there's something which is called a system ones and a systems two thinking.
Okay.
So system one thinking has to do with your emotional side of it,
Okay.
which has to do with your animal brain, or we call it the subcortical aspect of your brain, which has to do with the your animal brain, which is just there below.
Okay.
And that is where all your emotions go. Then you got your executive center, which is the prefrontal lobe cortex.
Yes.
So in your prefrontal lobe cortex, we call it the executive center. So that is where you're able to make executive decisions by seeing things from both sides.
Yes.
So you're more objective. Again, from what he said, when you're being career driven, your objective to say these are the objectives that I must meet in order for my career to come through or for me to achieve the things that I want to achieve in my career. So you're being objective as to which actions you're going to be taking. So stress is just a feedback that you're not being objective about the things that you must be doing or the things that you should be doing, can be doing.
Oh, wow. Okay. Guys, we are still in a meaningful and insightful conversation with our behavioral expert here and facilitator of the DeMartini Method, Osvaldo Nhaca. Comment below if you have any questions for him, because we are talking about how you can catalyze stress for self mastery. So, Osvaldo, how can someone start identifying the hidden order or value in a stressful event, especially when they're feeling overwhelmed or reactive?
Now, the reason why you're feeling overwhelmed is because you're perhaps doing actions that are not objective actions. So
Okay.
this means that we all maybe we should go back to a principle which is called a value factors.
Okay.
So what happens is we all have a value structure. And when I speak about value structures, I don't mean like societal moral values, but instead individual values. These hierarchy of values are things that we see are most missing in our lives and we're trying to fulfill it. So, for example, in this table, in this room, we all have different values. So, for example, for me, my highest value could be researching and reading. Then, second to that could be speaking. And then, third could be finance, because those are the top three values where I think, okay, these are the things that are most missing. These are the things that I want to most accomplish. Then he would perhaps have a different set of values. Perhaps for him, he wants to be a comedian.
Yes.
He wa-
I mean, he seems to do quite well at it. I mean, him and Mdogo had you laughing, so they were doing something right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
And attached to that could be something else. Maybe he wants to, start off a family or
Yes.
could vary in those aspects. So now what happens is if I go down, lower my value structures, you'll find that cooking is somewhere there. If you ask me to cook something for you, I won't be able to because I don't like cooking and I will not cook for you. Now, I can cook for you on the one day where I'm like, oh, okay, perhaps the pleasures of coming out of this cooking are more than the pains of actually going through cooking. But if you expect me to cook every day for you, now you're going to see that you're going to start injecting stressful situations because it's something that I'm not inspired to do. So there, if I'm doing the cooking, my stress levels will go up. So in other words, the more things you do that are lower down on your value structures,
Sure, yeah.
the higher your stress levels will be as a feedback to get you to go back to doing the things that are highest on your values to fulfill what that purpose is.
Okay, so now obviously we are talking about self mastery here, right? And we cannot avoid stressful situations, or we can't always, avoid stressful situations. And stress is something we face on a day to day basis based on, the things that are actually happening and life itself. So, what does self mastery actually look like in daily life? So is it about being calm all the time, or is it something deeper?
No, it's not about being calm all the time. It's impossible to be calm all the time. It's about being able to express yourself fully and seeing that these spectrums of emotions or expressions are part of who you are as a human being. So, for instance, if I come and I tell you that VAT is increasing by 10%, you're going to get stressed
Yes,
because it's something that you're supposed to deal with and it's the changes that have to adapt to.
Yes.
But being stuck in that is where the problem now comes because now you're not adapting to the changes that that comes with. So that 10% VAT increase, yes, it's stressful. The stress is helping you to see, okay, well, it's time for me to get up and think differently and do different things because, like we said, the only thing that's constant is change.
Yes.
So stress is actually helping you. So it's about embracing the stress and using the stress.
Okay.
Embrace.
Embrace the
Embrace. But
stress. I hope you that is tuning in and listening, watching us right now, you heard that from Osvaldo Nhaca. He said, and what he said right now. So last time you spoke with Musi and Mo about the issue of mental health and the misconception about it, especially about your surroundings, right? Can you please take us through what you know about mental health and its misconceptions?
Yeah. So the misconception around mental health is that someone is in disorder.
someone is
Yeah,
in
I mean,
disorder.
yesterday we also had a guest here, Pastor Dave Barber, who, he had some pretty interesting opinions surrounding how, the diagnosis process happens when being diagnosed with mental health disorders and obviously being medicated for it and things. So, yeah, can you then obviously now expand more on that?
Yeah. So it's not to say that those things don't have their place. They
Yes.
certainly do. So the misconception sometimes it sort of is that when someone comes to you for help, the first thing you do is to label the person that they are in disorder. The only reason why you would say that that person is in disorder is because you're using your own judgments or perhaps your past experiences to then say that this person is then in disorder, and you're now saying that I'm in order, so therefore that person is in disorder. So the mislabeling there is what causes that misconception. But if you come from a perspective of this is a perfect human being who's just experiencing life through their value structures, then now you're able to help them see the order that's already in their life. So, for instance, if I told you now that perhaps I I'm experiencing loss,
Yes.
I'm grieving, you could come and say, well, you've lost something and you are now in disorder. But if we search deeper, look deeper, you'll see
Yes.
that we have lost something is we have also gained something.
Mm.
So if you're able to show the person that there's that perfect balance between whatever's happened in their life, whatever's happening now, and whatever will happen in the future, then you're able to help them go back into that hidden order that's going on in their lives.
Okay. Thank you so much, Osvaldo, on always imparting such essential and insightful knowledge on us when it comes to issues surrounding mental health. And right now, obviously, stress and using that for growth, right? Because, like you said, we cannot avoid stress. It's something we have to deal with in our lives, and it's something we face every day. So, if today's message resonated with you, ask yourself, what is stress trying to teach me? Maningi, when you are stressed, what do you think stress is trying to teach you in that moment?
Nah, I mean, the thing is, you know what creates stress, ne, for me, ne? It's
Right.
because we live according to ideas in this world. I live according to reality. Ideas, it's like, okay, living according to expectations, that what causes stress according to me. I mean, I live according to a reality. If it happens, it happens, then we move on. So
Right.
according to me, what creates stress, CC, is expectations.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's that unrealistic expectation that will create stress. So anytime you have this unrealistic expectation
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and then reality hits, that's the stressful part. Is how
Yeah.
far is that fantasy away from reality? So the further that fantasy is away from reality, the greater your stressful levels will be. I mean, if you expect the president to make sure that your path is always is the greatest path towards your success. That's impossible because how many people are in the country? How many different value systems are in the country? So if you're a president of a nation, you can't necessarily live up to everybody's value structure. So you see, so
Yeah.
sometimes we have that little fantasy that goes on that drives up that stress.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That makes sense.
So, Osvaldo, sorry, there's just something that I want you to do with us. If
Right.
somebody is watching the show right now, can you walk us through a simple exercise or reflective question from the DeMartini method that our viewers can use to shift from stress to self awareness?
Yes, 100%. So here's what we do. So uh, let's define the 7 areas of life first. So you've got these
The seven.
the 7 areas of life.
Okay.
Yes.
Many people have
Okay.
many more than this, but I love the seven. The seven is the first one is finance. The second one is family. Then you got your physical aspect of life. You've got your mental aspect. You got your vocational aspect. You got your spiritual, and then you also have your. Did I mention physical as well?
Yeah.
And then you also have your social aspect of life. So all these 7 areas of your life, somewhere in those areas, one is more important than the other, or they're all structured according to what you believe is most important to the
Most
least
important. Yeah.
important. So what you want to do is give me a practical example of when you've had a stressful situation, any of you. Give me a practical example so we can literally do it.
To
What is it that what event did you perceive was stressful? Let's go to it.
I often sometimes find myself unable to focus when trying to, um, let's say, read,
Okay.
and or let's say this coming up when, because some one thing that I do for the show
Right.
is content producing. So
Right.
sometimes having to factor in all the stakeholders and having to structure everything in a way that's meaningful, and obviously that's going to be the drive, the objective of the show. It can come for me it can get a little bit overwhelming
Right.
because I'm trying to now come up with cover expectations of the viewers, the audience, and also impart the necessary knowledge onto the people who will be dealing with coming up and
Right. So
coming up and producing the show.
so
Yes.
let's look at it. What's the stressful factor? If you could what's the stressful factor? What is it that you're stressing about? Put it into simple terms. So let's identify the stress. What's the stress?
The stress is the work.
Okay, but what aspect of the work is the stressful thing?
The admin.
Okay, the admin. So the
Yes.
admin is what stresses you more.
Yes.
So the first step is to identify what the stress is.
Yes.
Then the second part is let's now say what's the emotional charge in this? Is it a positive or negative? So obviously you've got a very negative charge on it.
Yes.
So to bring balance to the negative, we add positives.
Okay.
So now let's look at this aspect now is what then are the benefits to you socially of that stress when you go through that admin stress? What are the benefits to you socially because of that? So what happens when you go through that stress? Do you sit down? Do you concentrate more? Do you look at what needs to go in where? What is it that you do?
I shut down.
You shut down.
Yes.
So what are the benefits to you socially to shutting down?
There are none.
See, so now you see where you're emotionally charged because you're seeing one side without the other. You're saying whenever I shut down, there's no benefits to me and there's no benefits to other people. So therefore, that's an aspect that you would try to change
Yes.
because you're seeing one side without the other. So you're coming from a systems one thinking where it's survival mode.
Yes.
Sometimes animals do what? They withdraw, they play dead in order to survive. So that's also a symptom of withdrawal. So now let's go in again. Let's go in and say, okay, what is the benefits to you shutting down because of that stress? What's the benefits to you socially because you shut down?
I mean, it could give me downtime to reflect and actually come up with strategies to handle the work or the admin.
Right. So now that one factor, that one thing, we use the principle of the ripple effect and connect it to all the other 7 areas of life. So now what's the benefit to you financially because you're able to sit down, reflect, and focus on the admin aspect of life? What's the benefit to you financially because of that? What is it?
The benefit to me financially, well, in the long run, it would mean I'm more productive. So
Be more productive. What's the benefit to you mentally because of you're being more productive?
um, I'll feel more accomplished, so I'll get more done and I won't have stress.
Right. And then vocationally, what are the benefits? Do you grow in your career because of that?
Yes.
Right. And then the other benefits, spiritually, what does it do to you?
I would obviously feel more connected
More
to
connected.
myself and more at peace with myself.
And then benefits to the family structure. What happens then? Who benefit? How does it benefit you to be in that state when you go home
A
with the family
happier
structure?
me obviously means at home I'm more present, and I'm amicable.
Amicable. So now my question to you is this: is do you want to get rid of that stress?
Maybe not, no.
Do you see how that stress is helping you?
It's catalyzing personal growth.
Yeah, of course, but would have to go in deeper and deeper. Then,
Yes.
obviously, through the DeMartini method, we go in and help you own that trait. That okay,
Okay.
you are stressful at times. Then we go in, we benefit, we balance out. Okay, when you did it, how did it benefit you?
Yes.
And then how did it benefit others? Then there's a specific column that is like mind blowing, where you actually go in and you actually get to see that at the moments when you were stressful, there was no other way for you to be but that at that specific moment. Yeah. So what I would say to your viewers is first identify the stress and then look for the benefits around the 7 areas of life as to how that stress is helping you in all those 7 areas of life. And don't stop until you can come up with 20, 50 questions until you get to the point where you're like, oh, I don't want to change the stress. It's part of who I am.
Oh, yeah, no. I think for me that was quite eye opening because I deal with a lot of stressful situations, having to be involved in multiple projects at a time, and obviously as a creative in the creative space, we usually deal with gigging as a norm. So that means you're always busy, you're always handling things, you're always doing this, you're always doing that. So I mean, I know Maningi can attest to this, but yeah, we do quite a lot. So I know that anyone who's watching this that's also can relate and who also deals with everyday stresses, perhaps at work or in the home or in your day-to-day life when it comes to your personal relationships. So if anybody wants to continue this inner work with you, where can they find your teachings or what kind of sessions can they get
Oh, yes.
from you?
So before you do that, did you
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
question?
I just wanted to
Sorry.
read the comments. So yeah, on the comment section we have Hector Takalani. They're saying Vuga Breakfast Show, morning family, morning to you, Hector. Then comes Spin City says, Sir Ovaldo, do you do business or personal coaching? I am very interested in you coaching me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh yes,
Yes.
I do
There
that.
you go.
So
Before
I
we
do either
close off.
group work or I do one-on-one consultations. So either of the two. So if you go to social media, you just type in my name, Osvaldo Nhaca, either Facebook, Instagram, or something. You can drop something there, or you can just use the email address of bookings at beyondhalfful.com. Then you're able to email me there. I don't know if I should leave my number, but hey,
No,
that's tough.
it's
But
okay
no
if
Your
ways.
your
business
business
now,
It's a
number
tough
where
one.
you
Yeah, no,
but
no.
I mean if
So
it's
those are the
email, if
platforms.
they
Yeah,
can only reach you via email, then that's
right.
also fine. Or your socials, they can DM you. Yes.
Yes, I think that's the best way.
Yes.
Otherwise, my stress levels will go up.
And we don't want that. We want you to also just, be carefree, lighthearted, whimsical, as one of the word of the days has been here on the hashtag Vuga Breakfast Show. It's been the Mind Basket with Osvaldo Nhaca, who has been talking about catalyzing stress for self mastery. So, the Mind Basket is a segment here on the Vuga Breakfast Show where we unpack powerful insights, one thought at a time. So today we dove into something we all face and of course that we all understand, and stress. So but obviously now we have learned with Osvaldo that stress is not your enemy. It can also be your ally. Thank you so much, Osvaldo, for always being a welcome guest on our show and always giving us such valuable insights when it comes to mental health. And I hope you at home, you've gotten some valuable valuable information from this interview. And don't go anywhere because we have more for you. Stay tuned. And
And sorry to see to cut you.
yes,
And we
no.
have just last comment from Hector Takalan saying, "Stress is money. Money own its own stress."
Hector Marawena. Yeah, but it's true. It's true. Hector is telling the truth, guys. What you know what they say? More money, more problems. But you know what? Imali yafuneka. We all need that money. But don't go anywhere, man. You're still tuned in live on the Vuga Breakfast Show.